Hello everybody and welcome to the completely got it wrong immediately. Welcome to the Tom Colohue YouTube and Twitch channels, where today we're going to be talking about the returns, impending as they are, of Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Asuka and others in the build up to Wrestlemania Backlash, Money in the Bank, Hell in a Cell, whatever it may be. So there will be news on all of those as we get into it. Quite often with these shows I may open them with a certain piece of news. It may have been discussed a little bit previously, but this is based largely on a report that's just come up on my Twitter. So something that I tweeted earlier on, well, yesterday I will say. It's a yesterday report which basically says Alexa Bliss is due back shortly, and after a wedding in which she was treated like an absolute superstar, don't expect the WWE to be treating her any different. This is very much a report on the future of Alexa Bliss in the WWE and her impending return. Now, naturally, as seemingly always, whenever I report something, the next day there'll be a complete flood of different news reports basically saying the same thing, but not from myself. So it's always nice to be able to provide even further evidence when it comes to that particular element. Before we jump into it though, as per usual, if you are watching on YouTube, please remember to hit the like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference, and subscribe if you haven't already. There is going to be a video tomorrow that I think quite a lot of you are not going to want to miss, is all I'll say on that one. Quite a lot of you, I think, are not going to want to miss the video tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down all of the reporting in and around Cody Rhodes, what was right, what was wrong, what you can trust, what you can't, and who reported what first. Thank you very much, Brandon, for renewing your subscription for a 9th month total. Thank you kindly, and I very much appreciate that you have joined us this evening. So let's see what people are saying before we get into the news. Justin Stevens, before the show began, asked some questions on YouTube. He said, I will not be able to be here today, so I'll ask my 2 questions now. Firstly, Brad Shepard, who's about 50-50 on being right at best, you're being very generous, said Cena is coming back late June, Money in the Bank. Have you heard anything about this? Not a thing. Literally not a thing, though what I will say in Brad Shepard's defense, as rare as it is that I say those exact words, he did report that Vince McMahon was going to wrestle. So, and Justin Stevens says, with Alexa being a face when returning, according to PW Insider and Meltzer, I prefer heel Alexa, how does she make an impactful return, assuming they don't do face versus face with her and Belair? To be blunt, Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair is very much in the planning, but let's not forget the fact that Becky Lynch is going to need some new opponents, and some new opponents soon. We also had Brian Dalton says, do you know if WWE is planning any of their annual releases post-Mania? If they do, it will be very small releases, likely not affecting main roster all that much because they don't have enough people on the main roster to begin with. If it is, it'll be people who have already requested a release, for example Ali, and that's Nick Khan beating Vince McMahon essentially. Moxie says, acknowledge me. You are acknowledged. Jay Quick says, Tony Khan, not every announcement you make has to be huge or major, but it does, because otherwise people aren't going to tune in. Lahawkman says, hey Tom. Hello Lahawkman, how the devil are you? Jay Quick says, Dave Meltzer is speculating that Tony Khan's announcement could be the streaming deal or the Ring of Honor TV deal. We've been discussing that for a little while on this channel. The purchase of Ring of Honor certainly lends credence to the idea that they're going to have a streaming deal in play or a new TV deal, which is up in 2023, so not long now. If you were watching when we covered the AEW financial analysis, you'll probably know what this announcement is going to be, is all I'll say on that one. Larry Bongo says, happy Good Friday, everyone. And a happy Good Friday to everyone, religious or not. This is a day to eat chocolate and get stuffed. So I hope everyone is getting a good stuffing today. Moxie says, Cody versus Seth versus Roman at SummerSlam, and Cody pins Seth. I find that unlikely. I am confident it's going to be one-on-one at SummerSlam. And Darren Mason says, what's up, Tom? Not much, mate. Things are going really well. Thank you for joining us. Steve, welcome, says, hope you're well, buddy. Keep up the awesome work you're doing. My question today, you've just been hired as a manager in WWE. Who would you choose to manage? And would you be a babyface or heel? Okay, well, I have to ask an immediate question of you. When it comes to who I choose to manage, am I trying to make them better? Or am I trying to get over myself? Because if I want to become a star, you just start managing Sasha Banks, and you're basically there already. It's basically it. As long as you're managing Sasha Banks, you're done. When it comes to someone I want to create and make them a star, Ali all day. He doesn't need a manager, but I would definitely like to be in his corner. Simon says, hey Tom, really excited for SmackDown tonight, especially for Sasha in her hometown, home state of Boston, probably going to lose again. She'll get a really great, awesome reception tonight, doesn't she always? Nelson says, do you think the brand split is ending? I hope not. I do not believe it is. However, to be clear, I reported a while back now that the WWE, when it comes to this particular Unified Championship run, are making it up as they go along. 100% making it up as they go along. They have no idea what they're going to do when it comes to this championship. They're just trying to hold on by the seat of their pants. And so far they're doing okay. So that's the situation we're in at this point in time. Thank you very much for renewing your subscription, Michael. That's a 14-month subscription now. That is an amazing length of time. You've also given us 40 seconds to potentially get a hype train, which is what happens if we have 100 bits or a new sub. That would knock us into hype train territory. So you've got us that close, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you. Simon says, Wednesday night, the Rumble in the Metro... Okay, that's football. Sean says Alexa Bliss is a babyface. Yes, she has been for a while now. She has been essentially for the last year. Steve says, do you have any plans to go to Cardiff for the UK pay-per-view in September? At this point in time, no. At this point in time, I do not. I would have more fun, to be blunt, covering it here on these channels than I would actually there at the event itself. Essentially. If it ends up with like a lot of people here are going, then certainly I would rethink the idea. Dominic says, hello Tom, is Roman going to drop one of the titles? Thank you. Yes, both, eventually. Sonic says, hello Tom, how are you doing today? A lot of people are assuming that today is WWE releasing someone, even though there's not enough names to be let go. It's not impossible, and I understand why people are worried that there's going to be releases, considering 15th of April does have history. The WWE do like to release people right after WrestleMania. However, this is usually followed by a shake-up, or it's usually because of COVID and so on and so forth. They're out of the woods when it comes to that one now, so they should be fine. Should be fine. Also, they could afford Cody, so that should protect them in the long run. Jay Quick says, is Becky hurt or asking for time off? Neither. She has had some time off coming. She's due some time off. Not every contract is for 365 days. I think that's the big deal here that we should be paying attention to. Derek McDonald, welcome. Says, does WWE have interest in GCW tying to them wanting to re-sign Moxley? They do want to re-sign Moxley. They are very upset that they ever managed to let him go and then realise afterwards, he was good, wasn't he? Yeah, probably shouldn't have let him go. Awkward moment for everyone involved in WWE, I promise you that. When it comes to GCW, though, it's a little bit overplayed. Just a little bit overplayed. They are interested in bringing some of their work onto the network. However, there are a couple of reasons that they're not that interested. Certain people in certain matches the WWE do not want to be associated with. Simon says, is it going to be Drew versus Roman in Cardiff, Tom, at the UK pay-per-view? I cannot say for certain. Drew and Roman really want to make it happen. Much like, if you'll remember, Edge and AJ really wanted to make the match at Mania happen, but I could not say for certain. Just to be clear on that one. Simon's also asking about the football. It was very entertaining for a 0-0 considering everyone started fighting, but I think the 3-3 on the other channel was a bit better. KJ says, what's up, Tom? April 15th was the day they made releases the last 2 years. Indeed it was. Jermaine, welcome. Says, hi, Tom. How's your day going so far? And what did I miss so far? I have not started the news just yet. We had a lot of questions in, so I thought I'd run through some of those before I started to go into the news, but there is plenty of news coming, so you haven't missed anything so far. Jay Quick says, are we getting Roman and Nakamura at Backlash? Yes. And KJ says, GCW on Peacock sounds impossible. There are reasons for that. Sean says, hello to the best wrestling journalist in the world, Tom Colohue. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. It is certainly interesting that my report on Alexa Bliss was pretty well received. It gave me a couple of new followers. It had about 100 likes, which is always good. Always good for 100 likes. But it has not been picked up by any of the major news sites. Instead, they waited for a report about 24 hours later from Dave Meltzer, which says, yeah, she's going to be a face. We already knew that. Dimitar, welcome, says, I think with Becky, they are just either waiting on a good time to do a rematch, either Hell in a Cell or SummerSlam, or it's a break like others have had right after WrestleMania. Seems very, very similar to what happened with Sasha Banks last year. Sean says, will there be more than one call-up coming to Raw? Hard to tell. I would expect so over the next few weeks, yes. Andrew says, John Cena WWE return will be late June. This is according to Brad Shepard, Andrew. You need to source your stuff. And just to be clear, not the most trustworthy of sources. This is the guy who said that Sasha Banks, I think back in 2018, would be coming back for, I think, about 5 different weeks in the build-up to when she actually did return, and then said, yeah, I called it. No, you called it 5 times and you were wrong 4. That's not the same thing. Welcome, Justin. Sorry to hear that. Also glad to have you. Simon says, do you see Drew winning one of the world title belts in Cardiff at the UK pay-per-view so match happens like the Bulldog did with the IC title back in 1992 at SummerSlam? Yes, I believe I've said that many times, and I certainly stand by it. Jermaine says, hey Tom, BC Amplify is saying that May 5th is when we'll get a whole bunch of releases from WWE. Who's BC Amplify? I'm not sure who that is. Nelson says, do you think that WWE will work with Impact again? Probably not. Nope, they didn't really work with Impact to begin with. They just brought in Mickie James to basically say, shh. Michael says, Sean Rossap tweeted that at least one higher-up told me that they didn't know of any releases set to happen today if you'd like to take their word for it. I'm not aware of any planned releases. Larry says, dear Americans, do you know where Wales is? Or are you like former US presidents who seem to think it was left of Middle-earth just behind Narnia? To be fair, when it comes to Wales, it does sound made up when you look at some of the names of towns. Moxley says, Tom, in your opinion, do you see Moxley returning to WWE? I think have Roman versus Seth at Money in the Bank and have Dean cash in, but have Roman pin Seth. Then at SummerSlam, Roman versus Seth versus Moxley versus Cody. That match would sell tickets. It would sell tickets. However, a whole lot of that is definitely not going to happen. Like, that's just, hey, let's take all of our popular guys and just smush them together. Yeah, here's the thing. Roman versus Cody will sell tickets. Seth versus Moxley will sell tickets. If Moxley returns to the WWE, he's not going to be immediately in all of the main events. Just let's be clear on that one. Promises have been made to Cody. Also says Brock versus Damian at Money in the Bank, Brock versus Edge at SummerSlam. I think that is most likely going to happen. That completely ignores the fact that AJ Styles is already heavily involved in this, so let's not completely ignore that. KJ says Colohue versus Shepard at SummerSlam. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Mostly because the WWE would never give either of us the time of day. Sean says Jazz said she wants to come out of retirement and face Charlotte. She praised Charlotte and said Charlotte is a workhorse, Charlotte is a measuring stick, and Charlotte is a woman to beat. All of this is absolutely true in my opinion. But Jazz is definitely not coming out of retirement to face Charlotte Flair. La Hockman and Simon as well says BC Amplify is a YouTuber that does reviews of WWE and AEW. Simon says a small-time copycat of JD from NY. JD from NY has 0 sources, so I doubt BC Amplify does based on that. Dimitar says stop believing untrustworthy sources. I mean, that's a fair comment. And Jaden says, hey Tom, what did I miss? Absolutely nothing. Let's get into the actual news, shall we? So, if you are just joining us on the YouTube side, please remember to hit like. Every like goes a long way to growing the audience here. So far we're at a peak of 32 viewers. If we can do more, I really hope we will. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please remember to subscribe. Every subscription goes a long way and I very much appreciate it. And we have ourselves an announcement tweet that we are going live. So far it's just had the 2 likes. So I'm just going to paste that in here. Copy link. So if anyone would like to share it, please do so. One of the ways that we've grown so quickly is because of the effort that you guys have put in helping me grow, and I'm very, very thankful for that. So, let's talk news. The big news, of course, as I did state on Twitter yesterday, Alexa Bliss is due back soon. She will not be returning before WrestleMania Backlash. However, the WWE are concerned that they do not have the female star power to host themselves an 8-woman Money in the Bank ladder match. They have considered having it 6-woman. However, they believe that with the talent that they should have, or at least they should be able to fill, they should be able to have an 8-woman Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, without certain key figures, such as, for example, Becky Lynch, if she's not back by then, Charlotte Flair, who will, of course, be losing the championship soon, they are going to struggle. And when they looked at the depth charts, as it were, for Raw, the heels of Carmella and Zelina Vega, they are not believed to be people that they want to bring into the ladder match because they don't have the necessary star power for the feel that they are trying to generate. With this in mind, the WWE are certainly looking at Money in the Bank as a landing point to have not only Asuka, Bayley and Alexa Bliss back in the WWE, but back involved in the matches. So not just back, but also with cleared characters, with well-defined storylines, and with a push going for it. Now, at the moment, Bayley is not expected to be going to WWE Raw. That was always speculation on my part that Bayley would go to Raw and receive the Hero's Welcome. I still believe she'll receive a Hero's Welcome, but there is definitely talk right now about a long-term feud between Bayley and Charlotte Flair. Bayley and Charlotte Flair, which would take place after WrestleMania Backlash, when Charlotte Flair has been thwarted by Ronda Rousey. They are essentially waiting for the right moment on that one. In addition, going forward, the return of Asuka has been delayed. She is someone that they want in Money in the Bank, but she has still not had any quality storyline pitches. So the people at the top level, essentially your Vince McMahons, are very, very confused as to what to do with Asuka. This is negative, of course. This is not a good thing, but right now they are not sure what to do with Asuka. When it comes to Alexa Bliss, the plan is to have her in the top level almost immediately. Alexa Bliss would definitely have Bianca Belair in her sights in a face versus face feud. However, Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch has been mentioned. Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan has been mentioned, and many others. There is a lot of excitement about Alexa Bliss returning and having key wrestling matches with big names. Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch is certainly something that they are planning not long after her return. I wouldn't be too surprised to see that match happen at around SummerSlam time. As regards Becky Lynch's time off, she is expected to be back in and around before Money in the Bank so that she can be involved in the build-up for it. I wouldn't expect her to be away for too long on that one. Outside of that, for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, they are currently putting it together, deciding who is going to be involved. The idea is that whoever will win the briefcase will be a challenger for Roman, and Roman only. So it sounds like Roman will definitely be holding the championship until at least Money in the Bank. Bobby Lashley is being mentioned as a potential competitor to hold the briefcase, though he is not currently considered first choice. There are a number of different plans at the moment being put together. Basically everyone, like every big name in WWE, is having a quick discussion about what they can bring to the table. This is in the writer's room, not the wrestlers themselves. And if they have the briefcase, what then would the storyline be? The WWE are taking those pitches, determining which ones they are most convinced by, and those ones will be sticking around. So to recap, Alexa Bliss expected back shortly after WrestleMania Backlash, basically after her honeymoon. In addition to Alexa Bliss, Bayley is expected back soon. The idea at the moment doesn't seem to be any longer to feature her on Raw, but they are no longer certain of that. There is a lot of excitement about the idea of Bayley taking on Charlotte Flair right after Ronda Rousey successfully vanquishes Charlotte Flair. Asuka, they are not sure of a storyline for, but for all three women, they want them back in time to take part in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. The WWE wants all three women back in time for the WWE Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. That is, of course, the beginning of July, so I would expect them to start their returns moderately soon. let's catch up with the chat. For anyone who has just joined us, please do remember that you can ask anything here. This is an Ask Me Anything sort of stream. So please remember that you can ask and comment away below. The more comments we have, the livelier the chat, the more advertised the YouTube and Twitch videos are to other audiences. So thank you very kindly to everyone who has shared and everyone who has helped so far. And of course, Brandon and Michael, who have renewed their Twitch subscriptions as well. If you'd like to support the channel, you can subscribe on Twitch. You can also gift with bits on Twitch. And when it comes to YouTube, you can become a channel member, or you can, of course, give super chats in order to make sure that not only is your question read and heard, because there is a certain amount of unavoidability of super chats, but in addition to that, you will, of course, have access to channel member only content if you are a channel member on YouTube. Let's catch up. Justin says, I feel like still waiting, waiting for Alexa, Bayley or Asuka to return. Sean Garner says, could we see Brandy Rhodes end up in WWE? There is very little interest in Brandy Rhodes from the WWE. If she came in, she would not be coming in for a lot of money. Simon says, your thoughts on the very controversial Satnam Singh debut? It wasn't controversial, just to be clear, it was not controversial. It was a little bit overhyped, but that's basically the Tony Khan way. AEW overhype everything because that's what guarantees them viewers. Hence why Tony Khan always has a massive announcement. Dimitar says, my guess is it's going to include Naomi, Sasha, Asuka, Bayley, Liv, Rhea, and maybe Alexa. You have there announced 7 people, so you are missing 1. This is what I mean. They're struggling to get to 8. Sean says, could someone like Liv Morgan or Aaliyah be in Money in the Bank? Yes, the WWE doesn't necessarily want Aaliyah in Money in the Bank, though. Justin says, Money in the Bank fantasy booking, Belair versus Ripley, Asuka versus Rousey, and women's Money in the Bank, Becky, Liv, Alexa, Bayley, Charlotte, Sasha, Naomi, and Baszler. That is a hell of a collection of people. Dimitar says, something I personally want to see is all horsewomen in the match. That's certainly a possibility. That is certainly a possibility. I won't go any further into details there, but they should all be in and around available at that time. Moxie says, I think AJ versus Edge inside Hell in a Cell will be their last match. Certainly a possibility, but I wouldn't necessarily immediately throw Brock Lesnar in there. I don't see any reason for Lesnar versus Priest storyline-wise without something being built up. So it may take a little longer to get there. Spider-Boss says, hi Tom. Why WWE picked Sonia as the first title defense of Bianca? Because they very, very highly rate Sonia. They think she has immense upside. They are really happy with the way she's been working with Naomi. Very happy with the way she went about her business, basically doing the job to Ronda Rousey. Also, Sonya Deville, full-time wrestler. She's back. She can do whatever she wants, and I'm very excited about that. Buzzy says, hello everyone. Hello, Buzzy. And Sean says, I saw that report about John Cena from Thirsty for News. Yes, Thirsty for News is Ringside News. It's run by the same people. The report came directly from Brad Shepard. Spider-Boss says, is WWE going to use Alexa for Money in the Bank just as they did in Elimination Chamber? As I've mentioned before, Alexa Bliss was not first choice for Elimination Chamber. That spot was originally for Asuka, but Asuka was not available in the end for it. Alexa is likely going to be in Money in the Bank this year. Moxie suggests Shayna, Naomi, Sasha, Liv, Rhea, Natalya, Asuka, Alexa. You see how exciting a prospect it is when you add in those names? Spider-Boss says Bayley to SmackDown, so that means Bayley may get involved with Sasha and Naomi. They'll be on the same brand, so there's a possibility of it. Jay Quick says, what are the plans for Sami Zayn now to get his head kicked off by Drew McIntyre? Quite a lot. Like a lot. Moxie says Alexa Bliss versus Rhea. Would be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? Would be a lot of fun. Moneymaker says they're going to have 3 of the 4 horsewomen on SmackDown. Wouldn't be the first time the 4 horsewomen have been on one brand, or at least 3 of them. There was, after all, 3 of them on Raw when they first had the brand split in Charlotte, Sasha and Bayley. Michael says, let's say after Backlash, Bayley goes against Charlotte. Sasha is in the tag division. Who goes against Ronda? They would need a high-level heel on SmackDown, and to be blunt, there kind of isn't anyone. What they would then do is throw it a bit further down. I would expect this to be the time that Shayna Baszler steps up into that breach, as it were, and then eventually this leads to them tag teaming together. Though, of course, Ronda also really, really likes Natalya. So I don't think it's impossible that we see Natalya as well involved in that. Jermaine says who will be Ronda Rousey's first 2 challenges for the SmackDown Women's title if Bayley will be feuding with Charlotte Flair. Well, I have just mentioned Shayna Baszler there and Natalya, and I think both of them will be involved, and then we'll get a big name closer to SummerSlam time. I don't know who that big name's going to be, but it'll be closer to SummerSlam time. Nelson says WWE should get Mickie James for Money in the Bank. They have no interest in doing that. The only reason they brought her in for the Royal Rumble is because of the whole trash bag controversy. They wanted to shut that up, and they did so very successfully. Jay says WWE just don't want to give us anything. We want Becky versus Bayley. We may need a draft for that, but it's not impossible. As I say, this is an ongoing discussion as to where Bayley will land when she returns. The user says, hi mate, any word on Moxley's contract? No extension has been signed to my knowledge so far. If and when it does happen, I will let you know. Dimitar says, not going to lie, it's going to be funny if Sasha and Bayley are yet again on the same roster. In my opinion, they need to be separated for their own good. I completely agree. Completely agree. For the longest time, Bayley has been entirely defined by Sasha Banks, and for me, that is a massive negative. John says, do you think Sonia will win the Raw Women's title, Tom? No, I think she has no chance in hell. Simon says Becky Lynch says she is being pitched a female-led Rocky-like boxing movie type role in an interview I read today. As I've mentioned many times on these channels, Becky Lynch has been pitched a lot of different Hollywood options. A lot of different Hollywood options. Kervin says if WWE have no plan for Asuka, for me, Asuka, Xia Li, like a tag team, or Asuka go back to NXT 2.0 like Natalya right now, she's going to help the female talent get better. Why would you pair up Asuka and Xia Li, not, for example, Asuka and Aaliyah? Can I ask a question on that? Woody Swain, hello. Says, hey Tom, hope you're doing well. Just want to say thank you for keeping us updated with all the news and rumours. Can we expect any surprises on SmackDown tonight? Well, they haven't announced much for it, so whatever is actually booked will be a pleasant surprise. Outside of that, most of the surprises will have been last week. However, there will still be something to keep us entertained and excited, I promise you that. Sean says, thoughts on Natalya in NXT. She interrupted Cora during her promo and attacked her. Natalya versus Tatum Paxley was announced for next week. Natalya going down there isn't necessarily to add draw power, it's to add someone who can basically help develop the people in that ring. Natalya is very highly thought of, a very talented trainer, and someone who gets the most out of everyone that she works with. She will add a lot to that roster in the brief time that she is there. Michael says Fightful Selectors confirmed that Jonathan Gresham signed with AEW. Didn't we know that? I thought we knew that. Jaden says, will Sasha be in the Money in the Bank match? Probably. Moxley says, I still have Shayna winning Money in the Bank because if Shayna is champion, she can say she will cash it in on Bianca. Teases she will cash it in on Ronda, then at SummerSlam cashes it in on Ronda. Easy storyline. It is an easy storyline and would definitely result in her losing that briefcase, which I'm still kind of okay with because it means she gets a big SummerSlam match. Shayna versus Ronda's coming. Spider-Boss says if Bayley goes to SmackDown, Raw only has Becky and Bianca as main eventers in the women's division of Raw. Not true, you are completely forgetting about Alexa Bliss. Michael said I wouldn't want Sasha and Naomi in Money in the Bank if they're tag champs. Tag champs have been in there before and will be in there in future. Larry says, any comments on the controversial issue of beer batter, which beers are best to use when battering cod? Now, I hate you for bringing this into this channel. We don't want to be dragged into this sort of controversy. This completely just hangs a doubt and a dark cloud over the head of everyone here, Larry. You should be ashamed of yourself. Buzzy is booing Brad Shepherd. Hector says, happy Friday, Tom. I've been wondering something. I'm not sure if you know this answer, but I'm aware the big reason that most NXT stars don't want to be called up due to not being able to stream on Twitch. That's not the reason most don't want to be called up. That's the reason one or two don't want to be called up. Bear with me just 1 second, please. With that being said, how is Ronda able to stream on Facebook Gaming? Is that in her contract or no? Because she said to them, yeah, I stream on Facebook Gaming. They're like, okay, will you stop that for the contract? And she was like, no. And they were like, okay, so here's your contract, and just handed it over. Ronda Rousey is Ronda Rousey. She's too big to say no to. Cody Rhodes is Cody Rhodes. He's too big to say no to. That's the difference. Jay Quick says, do you see WWE unifying the women's titles in the US and Intercontinental Championships? No, but to be fair, I didn't see them going this far, and neither did they. Neither did they. They didn't expect to do basically anything that they've done for a while now, and they are making it up as they go along. Spider-Boss says, I guess after Ronda becomes champ, her first opponents will be Shayna and then Bayley, so by SummerSlam we may get Ronda versus Sasha. I suspect if it's going to be a SummerSlam match, then Sasha will have to turn heel for that. Spider-Boss says, a big name that Ronda may face on SummerSlam could be Sasha Wright. Anything could happen, just to be clear. Anything could happen. Could is not something I can really work with, unfortunately. Megan says, with the Cardiff show now confirmed, do you see them holding off on Roman versus Drew a little bit longer? I do. I do expect that match to happen. I've been talking about it here for a while, that I very much expect what is going to happen will be the match between Drew and Roman, with Drew winning in the UK. Simon says, I'm already missing Becky loads on Raw after 2 weeks. Her absence leaves a massive void in the Raw Women's division on the show. I wouldn't say that massive. But certainly it's a big shoe to fill. Dimitar says they could turn Naomi or Sasha, but in my opinion they shouldn't yet because they are both quite over. Actually, they shouldn't at all. I agree with you. Nelson says, do you think the title will stay unified or will WWE split them soon? Once again, they are making it up as they go along. I have no idea. Jonesy, welcome, mate. Says, hi Tom, hope you're well. Really excited for the UK pay-per-view. Any idea when tickets will be released? And will it be Drew versus Roman in the main event? The working plan at the moment is for Drew McIntyre to defeat Roman Reigns in the main event in Cardiff. That's the working plan. It is not locked in, but that is what they want to do. They are also very low on top-level talent. Very low. Which means that without someone like a Jeff Hardy or a Cesaro to step in against Roman now, they may be forced to throw Drew McIntyre in there early. Simon says Natalya will be working both SmackDown and NXT, according to Dave Meltzer. Yep, that's very much the plan. Jay says since Natalya went back to NXT, they should start tonight Shayna versus Ronda. Then when Ronda wins the belt, they can start the matches. Well, they're not going to start tonight because Ronda versus Charlotte's still happening, so they're not going to do that yet. Jermaine says, I could see Asuka being teamed up with Io, become the Kabuki Warriors 2.0. A lot of people have said that. I get why. Freaks of Wrestling says, WWE lifted the ban on Twitch and Cameo and stuff like that, right? That's what I read. Nope. That's also kind of not what you read. The Twitch ban has not been lifted under any circumstance. Cameo, maybe. They're talking about it. At no point have any bans been lifted. That has not happened. Just to be clear on that one. Dimitar says, oh, this reminds me. Andrew Zarin reported there has been talk about Shayna teaming with Ronda. Have you heard anything about that? Dimitar, if you're fairly regular here, you will already know that I've been speaking about that one for weeks. For weeks. There are plans for Ronda and Shayna to team up. There are definitely conversations about them having the tag team championships. And certainly it is a possibility that they'll become tag team champions while Ronda is already the SmackDown champion. So yes, I was, let's say, way ahead of that particular report. Matthew says, what are the plans for Money in the Bank? To have wrestling matches. Lots of wrestling matches. If you're asking me to reiterate what I've already said, you might want to rewind it to about 10 minutes in, at which point I discussed Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and Bayley and their planned involvement in this. John says, do you think we'll get Ronda versus Bianca at Survivor Series? Honestly, no. I just don't think they'll both be champion that long. I think Bianca will lose it beforehand. Jonesy says, are you planning to go to the UK pay-per-view? Nope, not at this point. Freaks of Wrestling says, NXT wrestlers are back on Cameo. Yeah, NXT. NXT were never banned from Cameo. NXT were never banned from Twitch. Hypnosis Bro says, hey Tom, sorry for being late. What did I miss? Can you give a recap about what you discussed? I will just as soon as I've caught up with all of the chat. And Sonic says, any plans for Asuka coming back? Yes, and plenty of it. Jonesy says, Tom, also are they turning Damian Priest into 2022 Gangrel? No, they are turning Edge into 2022 Gangrel. That's why he rises from the dark. Dimitar says, guess I forgot. Sorry, Tom. I do say a lot of stuff, to be fair. I do say a lot of stuff, which later other people confirm, and then people run with what other people say. Regulars here are going to be more than aware of it. And Nelson says, is WWE really interested in buying GCW or to add on Peacock? It's overplayed. It's a little overplayed. Spider Boss says, let's catch up here. Okay. Michael says, fans are not cheering Ronda over face Sasha. I agree. WWE will still turn Sasha heel rather than Ronda heel. Sean says Gunther tweeted a picture that he is facing Sami Zayn in a live event. Sami is going to be chopped to death. He is. It's going to be awesome. Jermaine says I could see Ronda Rousey, Shayna and Bayley being moved to Raw in the draft. Also, I agree with that. I certainly could see that, and that would give us Bayley versus Becky in the lead into Ronda versus Becky. Bayley versus Becky would likely happen at the Royal Rumble. Spider Boss says, any chance of Rhea still turning on Liv this coming Monday night's Raw? Yes. Yeah. Michael says, Meltzer reported that Vince doesn't want anyone using their real names or indie names going forwards. I assume that's why Volta was changed. Yes, that's 100% true. 100% true. That particular report. The WWE wants them to be using names that they own. The WWE wants to own the names that they get over with. Because the WWE no longer believes that the people that they hire will stay with their company long term. Essentially, if Volta goes to AEW, he can go back to being Volta, but if he makes a name as Gunther, that will all be swept under the rug entirely. It will be deleted, essentially. That's what they believe. Megan says, I'm also curious about what they do with Marcel/Ludwig. Will he be wrestling soon or just a mouthpiece? They are technically a tag team, but they're introducing them as wrestler and manager. They will be used as a tag team at times. If you are watching on YouTube at the moment, please do remember that you can hit that little thumbs up button. It makes a massive difference to the growth of the channel and the amount of people watching at once. I will be very grateful for every piece of support that you can offer. In addition, we of course sent out our... thank you guys. Sent out our announcement tweet, which I am currently sharing your tweet there, Michael. And George, I will get to yours shortly. If you haven't already done so, please also remember to hit subscribe. We are currently at 1,075 subscribers, 25 away from 1,100. So every little does help. Every like, every comment, everything is helping us grow. And if you're watching on Twitch, remember that you can hit follow and you can subscribe there as well. Hector says, did you see Tony Khan talking on Busted Open Radio about how no one saw the negatives of the way Dynamite ended with the Satnam Singh debut? Do you feel like he needs to let others help him book, because that was a pretty big ending to Rampage? To be clear, Tony Khan did say that someone with 30 plus years of experience in wrestling told him to do that. So he blamed someone else for that. Jay Quick says, would you be surprised if the major announcement from Tony Khan is a streaming deal? Nope, that is what I've already speculated that it would be. If you watched the AEW financial analysis, we spoke at length about the streaming deal and when it should be coming, because there is already a lot of talk about it. Spider Boss says, if Bianca loses before Survivor Series, does she lose the title at SummerSlam? SummerSlam is at the end of July. Survivor Series is in November. That is 4 months. It doesn't have to be then. Moxie says, I think Shayna versus whoever beats Bianca at SummerSlam. They're in different brands, mate. They're different brands. Do you mean Survivor Series? Because Shayna is not beating Ronda. Sean says, thoughts on Samoa Joe winning the Ring of Honor TV title? Very much expected it. Very much expected it to happen on the basis of Minoru Suzuki ain't sticking around. As we spoke about here, Minoru Suzuki is needed back in Japan in time for everything going on in June, the G1 and the like. There's plenty more to come from Minoru Suzuki, but this was very much a transitional championship reign. A lot of people who were signed or were signed to Ring of Honor will not have their contracts renewed. If you're going to wrestle in Ring of Honor, you'll be wrestling under an AEW contract. I doubt we're ever going to see any such thing as a Ring of Honor contract again. Ring of Honor is just a brand. Much like wrestlers in WWE do not have NXT contracts, they have WWE contracts. Sean says, so with what Michael said, will John Cena and Randy Orton get name changes? No, that would be silly. On the basis that, you remember how I said they're too big to say no to? John Cena and Randy Orton are bigger than Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is too big to say no to. It's not going to happen. Like that. That's just overhyping it. Spider Boss says, I wonder which tag team will be the ones who beat Sasha and Naomi. I'm definitely leaning towards Ronda and Shayna. I really am. I think Ronda and Shayna dethroning Sasha Banks and Naomi in and around Money in the Bank gives them time to end up as competitors for SummerSlam, for example. And that also starts a feud when it comes to Sasha and Naomi. Michael says Tony Khan tweets like a teenage girl. I mean, I want to say harsh, but I also want to say... Jay Quick says, who do you see beating Ricochet for the IC title? Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn will reclaim it and carry it forwards. But I think it may be, again, around Money in the Bank time, probably closer to SummerSlam. We'll have a rematch between Sami Zayn and Ricochet. Sami Zayn at the moment and Drew McIntyre both just killing time wrestling each other because the WWE wants them on TV every single week, but they don't necessarily know how to keep them exciting and fresh. And Spider Boss says, who do you think will win, Adam Cole or Hangman Page in the AEW World title? Hangman Page, no question at all for me. Hangman Page will be retaining the championship, leading towards, I still believe, MJF will be the one. MJF will be the one to claim that AEW championship. That just makes the most sense to me. Jonesy says, is Ciampa Ripley joining Edge's stable? I heard Edge pitched Ali, but WWE refused to place him in. Ali has no interest whatsoever in being involved in that stable, has no interest whatsoever in being involved in the WWE. Ali wants to leave, and he will hear no pitches at all. Ripley is nearly locked in on this one. I feel confident about that. Ciampa, more or less. I'm not sure on that one. Justin says, who do you think is the early favourite to win Money in the Bank? I'm going to pick Cody and Becky Rhea. At the moment, the WWE aren't sure who's going to be in Money in the Bank, so there are no favourites at this point in time. But of the people currently available, I would definitely be leaning towards someone like Bayley. I would definitely be leaning that way. Kervin says, Charlotte versus Ronda, I quit match. Better deliver because the WrestleMania 38 match was not good. It was okay. It was okay. Dimitar says it was fine in my opinion, which I think is fair. Jonesy says, do you expect to see Jon Moxley signed in time for the UK pay-per-view? He is still signed to AEW. Just want to be clear on this one. There is every chance he signs a new contract there. So I think you're jumping ahead way too many places. Now I want to jump on this because we got a troll. Matthew Pace says, love how you're just speculating all this. You have no sources. Let's talk about that, shall we? Now, yesterday I reported Alexa Bliss due back soon and will be treated as a star when she does return. Today, Dave Meltzer comes out and says she's due back soon and will be on the face side. That's one example. Let's talk about WrestleMania. When I reported, right here on these channels, and Matthew Pace, you can by all means actually look at all of the YouTube videos. On March 4th, my video stating that Cody Rhodes would take on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38. 4 days later, Fightful Select reported Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 38. 4 days later. Also, there's Edge News that I reported, and I'm the only person who reported the day before SummerSlam that Becky Lynch would be returning. The only person to report that. So, to be blunt, you can say whatever you want, but I know full well you're ignoring literal evidence otherwise. Michael, thank you, just said you also reported that Shayna and Ronda will eventually tag months before Andrew Zarian. Did report that. That was a few weeks ago. I believe I won't say months per se, but I think that was a few weeks ago. And there's plenty more. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, Mr. Pace. Do any research. Literally any research. Do the slightest bit of research. You're wrong. It's provable fact that you're wrong. Literal, provable fact. And here you are saying, yeah, but you're guessing. Again guessing, again guessing, again guessing. Are you going to say that for the hundreds of accurate reports that are out there from me? You think I guess hundreds of accurate reports? Bless you. You're a waste of my time. Waste of my time. Because, oh, see, here's the troll coming out. Oh, why are you getting angry? Just making up an expression from me. You're just making up an expression. Bless you. Here's the thing. You are not important enough for me to care about your opinion. Also, you are literally, once again, provably wrong. Anyone who does any research whatsoever knows that you're completely wrong. So bye-bye. So, Jermaine says, I still believe that Sasha and Naomi will retain their tag titles this Monday, then defend them against Shayna and Natalya at WrestleMania Backlash, while Ronda defeats Charlotte for the title. Shayna and Natalya being backstage, watching the TV screen while Sasha, I believe it was Sasha and Liv Morgan, was on screen, certainly is an indication that that's where they're headed next. Hypnosis Bro says, even though I have no clue what is being discussed, I hope Bayley and Asuka return to Raw, not SmackDown, just my preference. There are definite discussions ongoing about what to do with Bayley, and they are really struggling to nail down a plan for Asuka. I did mention when it comes to Elimination Chamber, Asuka was first choice to be the mystery person there, but as I've been reporting for a while now, Alexa Bliss may have featured, but the plan was to have her return after WrestleMania, and how many reports have there already been corroborating what I have said on that one? Hypnosis Pro says, the scenes when Jinder beats Ricochet tonight on SmackDown for the IC title. Don't even say it. Don't even say it. Don't even say it. Thank you, Hypnosis Bro, mentioning Tom has been reporting accurate news, and I've been for a long time. And Rob says, Riddle tweeted, you thought it was cool to show up on our turf this past Monday, bro. Well met. And me on Randy, are on the way to your turf tonight on SmackDown. A lot of things are really being built around Usos versus Riddle and Arcade Bro. It will be a while before we actually get officially the match. WrestleMania Backlash at the very least when we get the official match. Whether that's going to be for one title or both titles, I'm not sure. As I say, and I did report this a while back, the actual booking for the Undisputed Championships, completely making up as they go along. They have no clue. And just for any trolls watching, 2 days before that was reported by someone else, in this case Andrew Zarian, I was mentioning it right here on YouTube. They are booking it and making it up as they go along. All of it is available right here on YouTube. All you have to do is look. But bless so many trolls. They're blind. They're blind. They can't see actual truth. They can't see fact. We just had a bit of a debate in the Discord about this when someone just disagreed with fact. Good times. Good times. Right, where am I? Jonesy says, who turns heel, Randy or Riddle, when they split? I mean, come on, mate. Randy Orton's Randy Orton. It's got to be Randy. Michael Winston says, do you think Bobby Lashley beats Omos again? I think he'll take at least one loss, but it's interesting seeing that he's apparently the top babyface on WWE Raw. That's interesting for me when you've got Cody Rhodes right there. Kervin says, WWE have plans for Raquel because she needs to be a heel. She's not booked as a heel at the moment. She is planned to be a babyface by the look of it. Jonesy says, do you expect the UK pay-per-view to be bigger than SummerSlam in terms of matches? No. Ed says, don't hinder Jinder. How dare you even suggest that I would ever hinder Jinder? Sean says, Cora, Mandy, Braun, Carmelo, Grayson and Nikita are on the new banner for NXT 2.0. The fact that Braun is there suggests that his call-up has been cancelled. There was every intention of the call-up coming for Braun Breaker, but over the last few weeks, something has changed in NXT, and I strongly believe this is because of Triple H's return. Megan says, something I would love to see just for a few weeks. Roman wants all the gold, so he sends the Usos to go after Ricochet and Finn for the US and IC title. Matches would be great, but it's not likely to happen at all. Don't be so sure on that, because to be fair, everything is now about Roman and the Usos. Everything. I believe it was back in January I first mentioned Roman would be doing dual duty on both shows. We're very much there now. Spider-Boss says, I wonder if Sasha loses the tag team title soon. Does Sasha have a chance to be involved in the main event picture? Yes, she does. Whether she will or not, we'll have to see. It depends on when she loses the championships. Michael says, you also reported that Shayna and Ronda will eventually tag most for Andrew Zarian. I did actually cover that already. J-Quick says, is Ronda expected to win the SmackDown Women's title at Backlash? Yes, she is. Spider-Boss says, how long Sasha will be in the tag team division? Until she loses the championships, I wouldn't expect it to be more than 4 to 5 months. Moxie says, Tom, you also reported that Sonia will return to in-ring action. I did report that. Once again, I first reported that a while back, and then I think it was about a month later it was reported on Fightful Select behind the paywall. And then when she was actually going to be returning in a wrestling match, I reported a week beforehand. Sean says, Raquel makes her in-ring debut tonight, possibly against Shotzi or Aaliyah. I'm not sure. I'm really not. Shotzi would make more sense to me, but it depends how they're building and who they're building towards Ronda. Shotzi might be required for that. Spider-Boss says, Sasha winning at WrestleMania 38, who reported Tom freaking Colohue, also, to be fair, reported what the match would be. Now, I didn't know her tag team partner, and I'm going to be blunt here. I did not know who her tag team partner would be at the time. But I did know she'd be going into WrestleMania in the tag division in a 4-corner tag team match for the championships. I'm always honest when I don't know something. I may be the only wrestling journalist who actually says, or has at some point said, I got that one wrong, I'm sorry. And everyone seems to think that's me saying, oh, I made it up. Because so many people said, aren't you the guy who said you made stuff up? No, and you will never find evidence of that because it never happened. You're just inventing your own narrative and looking for facts that you think suit it. Bless you, but you're just ignoring actual truth. Sai says, hi, one take Tom and all. Hope you're good. I'm very good, Sai. Welcome to the show. How you doing, mate? Hector says, in a recent interview, Ricochet mentioned he believes the Intercontinental title needs to be featured on every major live event. I believe the quote was, why do I have the feeling that WWE will do the exact opposite and continue to ignore it? Is that a quote from Ricochet? Did Ricochet say that? Hey, Wiggly, how you doing, mate? So just got in from a night out. Happy Passover and happy Easter to everyone celebrating. Glad to hear you're doing well, Wiggly. Glad to hear it. Moxie says, I would have Shayna and Natalya lose to Sasha and Naomi, then have Shayna attack Natalya after the match, and build Shayna as a badass, have her kill everyone on the roster, then have Shayna win Money in the Bank, say she challenges Ronda to a match at SummerSlam, makes Ronda tap out, then that is a true badass. That is not going to be happening, I promise you that. Ronda Rousey will not tap out at any point in the WWE, even if it is to Shayna Baszler. Hector says, shout out to Tony Khan for booking a Dalton Castle Gresham match for AEW Battle of the Belts. I'm a huge fan of Dalton Castle. He made me blind one time. Literally just like... So, I'm excited to see more from him. Says, I've been a huge Dalton Castle guy for a while. He will have the boys with him. It'll be a good time. You can't have Dalton Castle without the boys. I've seen it. It doesn't work. Wiggly says, going to the Cup game tomorrow. I hope you have a good time, mate. Hope you have a good time. Rob says, it's all good. Just give us Bloodline versus Nakamura RK Bro at Hell in a Cell like I suggested and I'll be very happy. Do you want that winner take all? Because I don't think that works out for RK Bro. Nelson says, do you think the tag titles will get unified? I do not. But once again, as I say, they are making it up as they go along. It's really hard to work out what the plan is because, to be blunt, there's no plan. So without a plan to really talk about, there's not much we can really say beyond that. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Oh, look, Matthew Pace followed me. Oh. You literally followed me just to be a troll. Oh. Should I do what Sean Ross Sapp does and just basically do a screenshot of you following me? Yeah. Why not? Why not? That's how you beat trolls, isn't it? Hypnosis Bro says, Ronda Charlotte at WrestleMania was alright. Suffered from going after 2 hot matches. Agreed there. The crowd was dead once they got to that match. I'm certain at Backlash people will enjoy the match. The I Quit format should be more beneficial as well. And I'm excited to see what they do with that. Because you can go hardcore, you can go just brutality, or you can just make it a submission match. I think they will try and play it more like Stone Cold and Bret Hart, personally. I'm excited to see what they do with that as a concept. I think they can do more with that as just that take. Jonesy says, who does Roman face at WrestleMania Backlash? Shinsuke Nakamura. Hypnosis Pro says, Randy Orton on SmackDown feels good to me. Seen him a lot on Raw, but I preferred him on SmackDown. We wouldn't have RK Bro if he was still on SmackDown because they both went to Raw. I like what they're doing with him now. And I feel on Raw, he's actually been incredible. His work with Drew McIntyre, his work with Ric Flair has been really very good. That said, his work with the Wyatt family, his work with Jeff Hardy, I think Randy Orton's just fantastic. I don't feel it's the same as, for example, AJ Styles, who has always felt top tier on SmackDown, but an afterthought on Raw. Well, at least that's how I've seen it. Hypnosis Bro also says, what's with Brock being falsely advertised for WrestleMania Backlash Becky 2? It may be that the information simply hasn't been updated with the advertisers involved. It may be that they just didn't communicate it as well as they should have done. Or yes, it may be false advertising because they're worried about ticket sales, but they're not that worried about ticket sales. So I think it's just miscommunication personally. Dimitar says she might tap to Becky. I wouldn't be too sure on that. Becky has a new pinfall finisher after all. John says, I feel like since every women's Money in the Bank cash-in has been successful, this year's will be unsuccessful. Oh, well, that would work for Baszler and would be fun for Baszler. Wouldn't necessarily work for Bayley. Rob says, actually, I did see it as winner take all now that you mentioned it. Have RK Bro win unified tags at Backlash, set it up. Then Bloodline walks away with everything at Hell in a Cell. RK Bro implodes from there. Jay Quick says, if Drew beats Roman, do you see them maybe putting Jinder in the title picture? No, I really don't. He's way down the pecking order now. Way down it. Ghost says, I made it to the stream right before it ended. Always miss your streams now, but finals will do that too. Oh, absolutely, mate. You concentrate on finals. No question whatsoever. You concentrate on finals. Wiggly says, trolls put them in the public stocks and throw tomatoes at the match. That's a waste of good tomatoes. I get trolls here. It happens. My option is to, for example, set it so that I only see comments from people who've subscribed for a certain amount of time. But then if you're new here, you don't get to ask a question, and I can't sort of encourage you to stick around. I feel being able to ask questions and then subscribe is a positive. Is a real positive. At the same time, if trolls are coming in and trolling, what they're doing is they're increasing my chat rate, which advertises my stream further because it communicates to YouTube, hey, this is really busy. People are really enjoying this. We should advertise this more. So I can literally see the little uptick in viewership that came from that troll just bombarding it with crap. And they're really there like, oh, why are you so mad? Massive smile on my face. You're doing me a favour. I don't understand how you're so dumb on this. It's basic shit. Hector says the source for the Ricochet quote was from his interview on The Bump. The exact quote was, this title can't miss another premium live event. So that is quite different from what you did say earlier. But I get what you're saying, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. But I agree, we need to see more Intercontinental Championships, championship matches. WrestleMania being missed off that was not good. Spider-Boss says, I would love to see at some point Sasha and Naomi joining the Bloodline. A lot of people certainly agree. Sean says, Brian Cage said on his rescinded NXT offer, they said you're average and we are no longer interested. Not the first time WWE have done that. Sean says, Tom, can you believe this year will mark the 10-year anniversary of the Shield's debut? I can, because Roman Reigns has been top tier forever. And Spider-Boss says, any chance of Sasha and Naomi joining the Bloodline? Paul Heyman has alluded to it. There has been no further suggestion at all. And Hypnosis Bro says, I think Becky wins the briefcase, fails to cash in, continues her downfall until she wins the Rumble, and faces Ronda at WrestleMania 39. Would not be a bad way to play that. I'm excited by the concept. Also says, KO versus Ezekiel shouldn't be as funny as it was. Kevin is a gem. Am I the only one that is still sane around here? Well, Kevin Owens needs to calm down and just leave Ezekiel alone. He's just debuted, right? He's just debuted. He doesn't know anybody. He needs to start building some contacts, and Kevin Owens is just being a bully. He's being a gatekeeper. It's absolutely not fair. Austin says, I'm so late, I'm going to have to watch this all over. Well, there is news, so you might want to do that. To everyone watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit the like button. That little thumbs up makes a massive difference. And, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you're a troll, talk. Go for it. Speak into the wind. Nobody cares. Just talk to yourself. Speak into the wind. Get my chat rate up for me. Do me that favour. It's worth even more than a like. Sean says, think anyone else will join Carmelo as a 2-time Money in the Bank winner? Not yet. Not yet. But I'll certainly be looking at Bayley in the near future. Wiggly says Ezekiel and Elias are not the same person. Well, yeah, obviously. And Spider-Boss says, Becky turning babyface in some point of this year? It depends on the plan for Ronda. I don't think so, no. Sean says, why do I have a feeling that lie detector will end up on Kevin Owens? I think the lie detector will end up on Ezekiel. And obviously the evidence will be that he's not Elias, because this is Kevin Owens. I don't understand it. I don't see his issue. But anyway, we have wrapped up this show. We have run out of questions. We will be live later on tonight with a live, not spoiler warning, this was spoiler warning, a live SmackDown watch party, which you can, of course, check out right here on the Twitch and the YouTube. So subscribe if you haven't. But in the meantime, I'm going to say thank you, everybody. I hope everyone's had a great time. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.